Mike's first corner error at Barcelona proved to be more costly than many anticipated. He never regained the lead in spite of starting on the pole. But there could be valuable lessons there, as Spain's difficulty in overtaking will be repeated here today at Brands Hatch. Unfortunately for all the competitors, that also includes a much more punishing nature with very little runoff around most of this old school circuit. Let's see if the first lap will be any different this time as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT3 Sprint Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Brands Hatch's more famous races are probably its rounds in Formula One, but it also has a long history with sports cars. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more. Welcome to Brands Hatch, When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula One to Formula Ford, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day. This is often considered one of the classic racing circuits, not just in the UK, but around the world, with its long history and challenging nature. But Adam, it's not as well known now as I'd say it used to be. Why don't you fill us in case we have viewers who aren't familiar?
Sure thing, Joe. I mean, Brands Hatch is legendary among British circuits. It's located just off the M20 north of West Kingsdown, and the 2.3 mile, 3.7 kilometer, 9-turn GP circuit boasts a strong racing heritage. Like you said, it's played host to Formula One, recently British touring cars, Blancpain GUT series, and many more. And this unique track features a collection of 90-plus degree turns at various degrees of banking and sharpness, all taking place over the rolling hills of southern England. The changing elevations can be the struggle for these GT3 machines, as their relative lack of downforce compared to their own GT compatriots means they'll float over the crests of these hills. The trade-off of reliance on mechanical grip, however, will prove to be a massive benefit once they hit Hawthorns and onward, as the steep banking in those relatively short turns will give them a decent cornering speed as they rip through the forest back towards the paddock and start-finish line. If you're looking to pass, however, the best places will be into Druids and Graham Hill Bend, and possibly Hawthorns or Sterlings if you're feeling really brave, but overall, this track will prove difficult to pass at, much like last week. Brands Hatch always creates a fascinating race, Joe, and I expect no less tonight.
Same here, but as always, today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at SIMMSA.net.
Yeah, the GT4 Club Sports Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader, ready to compete against the financial markets. Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulation and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, we also have the championship underway with one round done, so let's take a glance at where that sits currently for the drivers' standings, at least. Lewis Goodway, with his victory, is one ahead of Michael Davies, with Sean Macbeth 5 behind, and Anthony Pisano 7 back, and then Jean-Marc Tremblay back there in 5th, only 9 down. But very tight up at the front. Michael Davies' pole definitely helped with that. What's the team standings like?
Yeah, the SimMSA eSports currently leads the team standings with 69 points. 16 points back is going to be the SRT eSport Black. Then we have the blue and magenta and orange all rounding out that top 5. And if you think that's a lot of SRT eSports folks, then you also have green and red down in 10th and 11th. So lots of SRT eSports folks around this that are racing around this series right now. But currently SimMSA holding that top spot with that win that Lewis Goodway had last week.
Today's round will be round 2, as we mentioned, and it's a 40-minute race. There's the different cars that they are allowed to choose from in this GT3 class that are available here on iRacing. The cars are open setup as well, but they were talking to the drivers about this a lot in the pre-race. There are very few incidents before you get a penalty, a drive-through at 11 and disqualification at 17. But those bonus points, including the pole, there you see at the bottom what they can earn today. And hopefully we'll have a few that we'll be celebrating instead of having commiserations for any sort of penalty out there. Also, we just want to remind you that you can advertise with us. GSRC offers a wealth of options to help you get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If your organization is looking for a global audience to advertise with, look no further than GSRC. Follow the link in the description below to learn more. Right now in the qualifying, Julio Palacio looking like he holds the top spot. Behind him, it is Raymond Day, but it is less than a tenth between them. It's a relatively short lap around here, Adam.
Yeah, it is a relatively short lap, but it's a really difficult lap. I mean, the grass is just inches from the racing line at every single point. We're looking at Pietro Malgula going around the track, setting a 14th fastest time. Diego Morales coming across the line shortly to try and improve on his time of 1:29.366 does so. So we have quite a few drivers who are improving. Looks like Diego is going to set pole with that time, a fantastic time of 1:22.312. And look at that. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of our points championship runners who did well last week are really not up at the top of the board right now.
Goodway's down in 6th. Morales showed well at the start, at least in qualifying last week, and then unfortunately his race was one to forget. Trying to see where Davies is.
He's all the way back in 35th position right now, just crossing the line, so he's really struggling with this machine. He's a good 10 seconds off of pole, so hopefully that's not representative of his true pace today.
Interesting stuff. So Day gets shuffled down to 3rd, Palacio to 2nd. Pisano, is that? Yeah, Jean-Marc Tremblay just jumped up to 5th, just behind Pisano. So that is a big development there. Tremblay has been showing some great pace recently. Kenny Rodriguez a little farther down. Interesting to note that Rodriguez, who does the pre-race drivers meeting, he's kind of one of the stewards essentially in this series. He actually got a penalty for last week. So he pointed out that as far as the orange zone goes, it applies to everybody, including him. So no one is immune.
I think that's a great stance to have if you're going to be a steward and driver. Is you got to penalize yourself equally as much as you got to hold yourself to the same standard you would hold any of your other fellow drivers to. And it's great to see that example being shown as far as the officiating is concerned in the PRL series.
Palacio down and across the line does not improve that time. I'm watching Davies. His last lap was his fastest at 31.7. 23.3. That is much more representative. Still, he's only in 12th, and that's going to put him in a bit of the danger zone, really in the thick of the pack.
Yeah, and to be honest, Joe, the times around here are pretty spread out. The top 11 are only under a second right now, and usually we see a little bit of tighter times in these GT3 machines. So this track definitely proving to be separating the wheat from the chaff here tonight. One of the things that's definitely going to cash these drivers out is that incident limit. With the grass so close, you can pick up incidents very easily around here, and especially during the race. Clipping the grass can send you off and end your day if you're not careful.
There's so many places where the barriers are right up against it, even some of the fast corners, especially on that back half of the track. So I'll be keeping an eye out. We're hoping that attrition isn't too bad around here, but I would not be shocked if it raises its ugly head once again. Williams, who is in 8th, has a 23 flat and now a 22.8 for his quickest lap. That'll jump him up into the 3rd row, the inside of it on 5th.
As part of that top 7 that have broken into the 22s right now, our fastest time by Diego Morales at 122.143. That is 2.5 tenths faster than Palacio, so very good stuff from him. I mean, it's just impressive to watch some of these faster guys tackle this course. Such a hard, technical, brutal, physical course.
Okay, Davies is looking like he is back on it now because he just bumped himself up to 5th, less than a tenth behind Pisano, and Williams less than a tenth behind him. So 4th, 5th, and 6th are incredibly tight. In fact, you can extend that back. Jean-Marc Tremblay, Dan Revito, Tony Costello, Louis Goodway. It's basically... Oh, and Costello just jumped up now to 6th behind Davies. So Williams getting shuffled down quite quickly.
You know, there was a lot of fast running going on in practice, but it sure seems like the track is starting to develop a little bit more even as we watch Goodway coming across the line. It's not going to be a 122. It looks like he's on a little bit of a slower lap, so he might have just come out of the pits recently. But Goodway, he looks like he's starting up to a faster lap, and he's got some traffic ahead of him that's going to cause him problems. Brett Thurman next across the line.
An eye on 6th to 13th on that timing tower on the left. There are 0.3 of a second between those drivers, and that is 8 different drivers. That is incredibly narrow. So Palacio, as he comes up to the timing line, a 22 flat, that's his quickest lap, and it's going to put him on the pole by 9/100ths of a second.
I mean, this is awesome. The track is definitely developing for these guys as the sun starts to come up. Actually, it's 10:17 virtual standard time. It's going to be interesting. Oh my goodness, that was an unfortunate moment for one of our drivers, Anthony Pisano, coming around the back half of the course, back into the paddock area. I mean, man, the sweeping corners around here are awesome, but they're so hard to tackle as a driver. Pisano crosses the line at 123.093, not faster than his previous lap.
Morales on a fast one because he's close to the end. Yeah, it looks like he's on a slow lap here, so maybe he's just winding the car up. Tremblay did not improve that time by. In fact, he seems to have been on an out lap as well. What about our winner from last round, Louis Goodway, only down in 10th? He could jump a number of positions with the smallest of improvement, but it's not going to be this time as that lap did not count.
He was held up by traffic and he's going to lose it through turn 1 as well. So unfortunately, he's definitely going to be sitting there in 10th at the best for this session because he won't be able to get back around to start another lap. Bret Barrett, on the other hand, coming across the line shortly to try and get a fast lap in. That is going to be an improvement of 123.970, good enough for 19th. Kyle Strikers next to the line is not going to improve. Man, it is nip and tuck here for these drivers.
Third place driver and the number 7 are squirming as he comes out of Clark. As he crosses the line, does not go faster. He's got 0.3 to make up to our top 2. So he has got a long ways to go. Basically, Palacio and Morales have just streaked away from everybody up at the front of the field.
Absolutely. I'm very interested to see whether or not anyone can catch up there. But I mean, almost 0.4, that's a lot to catch up. Diego Morales just going off track through the last sector of the course. Costello crossing the line, a 122.882 is his fastest. Still only good enough for 6th position. Costello coming across the line shortly. Diego Morales as well. Diego Morales just had an off, so I don't believe this lap will count either, unfortunately for him.
It did not. And this is his last try. So he's really got to hustle if he wants to get that bonus for the pole to help him on what I'm sure he hopes is a repeat for his championship. Barry Cochran, and the number 711 is sitting in 26, and he's going to stay there. No, he's up to 22nd. He did improve by a small amount, so he finds himself up one more row. Now we're Goodway, still down in 10th. After last lap did not count. This one did, but it looks like it was slow. He's just starting his final time around because the clock is below 20 seconds. They have got to hustle, or else they are on that last run. Benoit is not quicker, neither is Goffany, and Juno isn't either.
And those will be the last guys to cross the line before the timer is out, so everyone else is finishing their final laps. Looks like Margula is not going to set a faster time, so unfortunately he will stay exactly where he is. Raymond Day did not set a faster time on that lap, so he'll stick around in third unless anyone can jump him. Costello looking to set a better time, just not setting a better time, only going to be good enough for sixth position. But now we've got the fast guys. Kenny Rodriguez coming around, and right behind him is going to be Diego Morales to try and upset Palacio, who is not out there right now. Kenny Rodriguez crosses the line at 124, and Diego Morales crosses the line, and he is faster at 122.084, but it's not fast enough for pole.
Wow, he gets within 3/100ths of Julio's best time. Looks like Flanagan is going to improve on that last shot through, but not in position. Who else do we have finishing up? Lewis Goodway, that's one we need to watch because he's coming around Clearways and Clark. Here we see the number 74 coming up the Brabham straight, which isn't totally straight. He holds it all the way to the right side. A 22.6. That'll actually put him up on the second row at the last moment. Goodway gets himself in the fray.
It looks like Chanel's going to be the last car across the line, but very slow, so he's going to pull into the pits, and I believe that's going to close us out on qualifying right now. Sammy Bridge is still out on track, but I'm not sure if he's on a timed lap.
Yep, that is it for the qualifying. So everyone is set and everybody got a time in, thankfully. Let's go through that starting order with Palacio on the pole, Diego Morales starting next to him in second place, and Raymond Day up to third. You've got Lewis Goodway. He started in third place last round, and he's going to start in fourth. So it'll be on the outside. It'll be interesting to see if he can make a similar jump and maybe try and take advantage of others' mistakes at the beginning. Michael Davies will be starting in fifth with Anthony Pisano in the sixth position. Tony Costello starts seventh and J.R. Williams in P8. Jean-Marc Tremblay with a well-earned ninth, and Danny Revito will be starting in 10th.
Christopher Rhines is going to start 11th right now with Peter
Margula. Brett Thurman will be starting in 13th with David Menino in 14th position. You've got Arnaud Genet starting P15 today. Kyle Strykars in 16th, and David Flanagan in P17. Angelo Velos will be starting in the 18th spot. Kenny Rodriguez, who's giving them a little bit of a pep talk once again right now, will start in 19th. 20th goes to Bret Barrett. Adam?
James LeBond is going to start 21st with Barry Cochran starting off in the 22nd spot. Aaron Law is going to start off in 23rd with Neil Alexander starting off in 24th today. Levi Goffney is going to start off in 25th with David Stevenson starting off in 26th position. Danny Duchesne is going to start off 27th with Jared Keene, Sammy Bridges, and Lawson Christie rounding out your top 30.
First goes to Brian Hotham with Ariel Salazar starting 32nd. Andrew Benoff will be P33. Sean Foes starts 34th today. Gary Schilling 35th, and Dylan Humphrey 36th. Last on the field going to be Juno, as we have everybody of our 37 qualifiers lining up right now. Excited to see how this one will go, because it's going to be, even though we keep saying it's similar in terms of difficulty and overtaking, it is going to be so different in terms of runoff and how easily it will be to damage the car. Good news is, Adam, they've got pretty good conditions for driving today. It's 71 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface right now, so that's pretty fair.
Yeah, a little bit of a wind, a 9-mile-an-hour wind coming out of the south, which will make things a little bit interesting. A headwind into the first couple of corners. So, 17 kilometers per hour, that's nothing to sneeze at, but these cars are not as aero-dependent as their GTE compatriots up on the further end of the speed spectrum of the GT class. But that being said, I think the first couple of turns around here are going to be pretty chaotic with this number of cars. We're used to seeing this in the slower GT series, but in GT3, this is going to be very interesting.
There's not many places where you can try and get around traffic or pull out of the way of cars coming through, as they now take off behind the Porsche pace car. This should really give us a good idea of the elevation change that you have around this circuit. One of the big features as they climb back uphill, you can see it plunges between Paddock Hill Bend and Druids to the major places where drivers can potentially try something.
And looks like Kenny Rodriguez is going to be starting from the pits today, and frankly, I don't blame him. I'd be terrified of the first couple corners as
I believe
well.
that's his penalty, actually.
Yes, so yeah, the penalty from starting in the pits. But once again, like, I don't think that that's that much of a disadvantage, even though track position is such a big thing here. Like you said, the attrition is going to be big today, especially with how hard it is to get the car around this track.
I'll climb back up out of Surtees. This is towards Pilgrim's Drop. Let's see, there's another crest there right as they get to the bridge. And then they come speeding down into Hawthorne. This is a nightmarishly fast corner with not much room at the exit. They do have that gravel trap there on the outside, but once you get to the actual corner exit, it really tightens up. There you can see the barrier comes right up next to the track.
Yeah, and as the drivers continue through this forest section, things only get harder as they reach more and more of these 90-degree corners. This downhill here is so difficult to manage, especially if you have to do any extra braking. If you're stacked up behind some cars ahead of you, you'll find some guys going off and hitting that outside Armco barrier at full speed because they just clip the grass on the outside. You have to be so focused on getting your line right. There's so much time to be found here, but at huge risk.
All right, one more corner to go, and then the Porsche pace car will peel in. The field's starting to try and stack up and get close behind Morales and Palacio. One final change in elevation here. Big crest right in the middle of the corner. There goes the pace car. Palacio does not wait at all. Green flag is out, and a big squeeze from Morales on Raymond Day, who has to lift, and that is hurting his momentum as Lewis Goodway is going to get around the outside. That could be one position for Lewis right here in the first corner. Pisano to his outside as they come around Paddock Hill Bend, watching in the background to see if we get any sort of wreck, but so far so good.
A very clean start from the rest of the field, as well as everyone dives into the sharp right-hander, and everyone playing it very kindly right now, being very nice to each other, which is a huge surprise considering how important that track position really is. Still some side-by-side battles between Raymond Day and Tony Costello. J.R. Williams trying to make some moves as well for the 9th position, and he makes it on Jean Tremblay.
Jean-Marc is not looking good. He got a horrible exit off of Surtees. You can see most of those in front of him are single file, but Jean-Marc on the defense with Danny Revito to his outside. He's going to be able to swing through in Hawthorne Bend as finally most of them are now in a single line.
If we get everybody through this first lap without incident, I'm going to be very surprised, but also very happy, as Palacio really taking off with this one, almost half a second ahead of Morales, who's about over a second ahead of Goodway. So starting to stretch out there for the top 5.
The words of Kenny Rodriguez really got through to the drivers to take it easy out here. But look at the gap that with the top 2 are starting to pull. Goodway behind them is a whole second and a half back here as they complete the first lap, while Palacio and Morales plunge it downhill once more and make it a 2-horse race.
That's very good for Goodway. He's starting to catch up to the back of them a little bit, but Diego Morales and Palacio really starting to take off with this one. They're still staying nose to tail right now. Morales trying to keep Palacio really honest right now.
Had a little bit of battling once again between Revito and Jean-Marc Tremblay. Revito doesn't manage to hold him off, and Jean-Marc gets the spot back. Rines is behind them as well in the number 111 as we hop on board now with Tremblay looking at Revito. He falls back and he's not going to have any shot up into Hawthorne behind him. Rines starts to apply more pressure.
Hawthorne's such a challenging corner to get. It's so flat, especially in these GT3s. You really have to have the car set up for that corner. It's one of the more challenging ones for sure. As they go into the downs here, Christopher Rines definitely trying to challenge Revito for that 10th position, but nothing doing right now. Revito continuing to fall back a little bit, but Tremblay's actually catching up to Costello a little bit for 8th.
But it looks like these are, if not teammates, a bunch of sister car teams that are racing together here in the middle of the pack, being led now by Costello. As you mentioned, it's the SRT eSport team, all basically clumped up in one group. Looked like Tremblay maybe could have had something, but ran out of steam up the Brabham Straight.
It's actually very intense right now for around the oh my goodness, for around the 15th position as well. We're going to take a look at Flanagan. This is exactly what I'm talking about. David Flanagan trying to hold off Jeannot, Arnaud Jeannot for the 16th spot. Kyle Strikers as well in 17th, and Angelo Velos in 18th trying to chase him down. But that's one of the best passing spots around here, so that's why we're seeing the moves made there.
Flanagan made a great move around the outside into Paddock Hill Bend to get by Genet. Very well to get him into 15th. Let's take a look at that since I think we got time. Drivers aren't making too many moves. Look at this, just powers off of Clark, and he holds it. A lesser driver may have tried to back out. There's two battling side by side behind them, and then just sends it in deep.
Trouble is if you back out there, you actually end up creating a huge hold up behind you as well. So as we go back live with Flanagan, he's starting to run away with that 15th position. So doing a great job right now.
Someone off screen there, but we'll have to get back to that in a moment because look at our top two. Morales has closed in within a quarter of a second. Julio is under immense pressure at this point as they come down through Paddock Hill Bend. Looks like he's not going to get the launch he needs to get up into it in Druids, but he's very strong under braking, and that is good information for Diego later on.
Trouble with that corner, though, is it's a 180-degree turn, so it's really hard to get a slingshot off of that one. But look how much more road Morales is taking. I'm going to say road, but they actually put a grate over that grass there so that the cars can run off because of how challenging it is to keep that sharp left 90-degree turn at the bottom of the hill very tidy. But here comes Morales really trying to chase down Palacios, doing a very good job of keeping him honest, but they've left Goodway in the dust by 2 seconds.
Goodway is not looking quite as good without the track position, but he's still on track for a podium ever since he got by, I think it was either Davies or Pisano on that first lap. It seems he's not been under threat from them ever since. There you see the third place number 74 car taking it through Sheen and Sterling out from the trees. They'll come back to the main portion of the circuit. Always love the beautiful scenery of this track as well.
And taking a look at Goodway, who's currently 2.35 seconds behind, so he's definitely losing time. Those top two really starting to maximize.
Tim, you can see that Day is getting very close to the back of Davies as well. This is for 5th position. Watching from Day's perspective, and they really are edging it out towards the gravel there as the car compresses out of Paddock Hill Bend. Everybody accordions together through Druids, then it's back downhill once more and through Graham Hill Bend, and this is where you were talking about. All that area off to the right side is all fair game where it might look like grass, but it is paved.
Yeah, and so it looks like Day is catching Davies, but Davies is also catching Anthony Pisano up there for the 4th position. So expect that Davies is going to be trying to put pressure on Pisano to make sure that Davies doesn't get by. Look at Day poking his nose out there, trying to make Davies maybe possibly break early. Can't quite do so. Davies being very consistent right now, and it looks like where Pisano struggles is this forest section. Oh boy, that was almost off track for Davies up ahead.
I said that they were taking it all the way to the limit, and you can see exactly what we were talking about. I wonder if patience is going to be a key factor here today, Adam, just because it seems like so many drivers are bottled up behind a slower car.
I definitely think it is, but one group that's not being patient is David Flanagan, Pierre de Margula as well. It's so intense, and also the lead is not taking it patient either. Morales definitely has an opportunity to make a move here, but look at that. Palacio definitely blocking him off, and we've had some door-to-door contact actually for the 17th position between Arnaud Jeannot and Kyle Strikers. They made major contact there.
Not over. Strikers to the outside as Arnaud has got to run. He's going to break deep down into Paddock Hill Bend like he did earlier in this race, and he will sneak back through. Nice move by him. Behind them, a little bit of a look both from Barrett and LeBlanc, neither one able to make an overtake stick. Nothing's changed up at the front. Morales still chases Palacio, but now he's putting himself in his mirrors.
I mean, this group that we're watching right now has been completely tooth and nail every time they get into the forest section. Some of the guys are really struggling with some of those turns.
32 minutes left to go. Still 3/4 of the race to try and decide things. Does Morales have that patience to wait for the right moment? Or could traffic be an issue? Because they've got Sean Foes in front of our leaders currently. And there's very few places to get through there. Foes just goes completely off course to allow them by.
Unfortunately, it didn't hold up good way either in third position, but yeah, Palacio really doing a good job of trying to manage this gap while also trying to avoid any sort of incident. And we've had one, actually.
Ooh, yes, we have. Is that Alexander?
That's Lewis Goffney and Dylan Humph and Neil Alexander, who are both off.
Then Sterling, trying to see if there was car contact. There was. Alexander was off in Sheen. And then here's the replay. You're going to see him just go a little wide, and unfortunately, as he tried to collect the car, the other driver was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's Goffney.
There's nothing they could have done in that situation.
Yeah, he really just was an innocent victim on that one. You can see he's heading into pit lane already because of it. Well, there's some of our early victims, unfortunately. Looks like Anthony Pisano and Michael Davies might have something going on. Remember, we talked about Day trying to keep up with them. Excuse me, Williams. No, it was Day. I had it right the first time. Day was trying to keep up with them, and he has dropped back. Davies now looking forward instead on the number 55 as they come to the Brabham straight. Not the best of exits for either driver, so they stay about even.
Yeah, out of all the GT3 machines this season, I think that these particular two machines, the BMW and the Audi, might be two of the least likely to enjoy their time around this track. With all of its medium speed sweeping corners, these two cars tend to like two very different things. The Audi tends to like the straights quite a bit, and the BMW likes the sharper corners, so these two guys are struggling a little bit with just their car choice, which they have to stick with for the entire season. So that's why you don't see them catching as much up to Goodway as they would like, but they're getting pretty close, only about 2 seconds back.
Goodway keeping himself clear, but he's got to keep the pace up. You can see flashes of his orange and white car getting by in front of these two. He, as well, keeps falling back from our two leaders. Let's take a look at a big train forming behind Danny Duchesne. There's LeBlanc back there, Law, Bridges, and Cochran.
Yeah, this group's been getting pretty chaotic as they start to go into the forest section. These guys are struggling a little bit more on setup. Seems like they don't quite have their setups stuck in. Looks like Aaron Law gets a little bit loose through that corner. Sammy Bridges is going to try the inside here. This is where under the deep braking zone, Bridges really sends it in, but he's going to clip the outside grass, carry too much speed through. Aaron Law goes back through, and Barry Cochran follows him.
He didn't lose it like the last incident we saw with Alexander. Cochran sneaking by, so instead of gaining a spot, Bridges loses one. And side by side between Duchesne and LeBlanc up the Brabham straight. That is Duchesne to the outside, and the yellow and black machine to the inside. The orange, white, and black is LeBlanc over Paddock-Hill Bend, giving plenty of room to LeBlanc on the outside. Excuse me, Duchesne on the outside. Eventually, he's able to outbrake him into Druids, and he reclaims the spot.
Yeah, I don't think Duchesne's going to want to let LeBlanc go. LeBlanc taking it very wide, actually clipping the grass there. Here they go side by side once again. Duchesne and LeBlanc as they go into Surtees here. Looks like that's going to be benefit Duchesne, but LeBlanc's going to try and get a good exit off of Surtees, taking a late apex, but LeBlanc is able to stay with him. Duchesne trying to go faster on the high side, and here comes Aaron Law in that multicolored Audi behind them as they go into the forest section. Who's going to have the advantage? Who's going to take the risk?
They're getting tense here in the mid-pack. Every point matters to these drivers. They plunge down through Dingeldale, up into the blind corner of Sheen. Can't see anything up through there. We've already seen Bridges have issues trying to take it through there cleanly. Oh, and I think LeBlanc might have a shot here. LeBlanc very strong off of Sterling. Duchesne, though, halted his momentum off the corner a little bit, and before they get to Clark, it seems that LeBlanc just doesn't have quite what he wanted. Law, on the other hand. Law into the pits.
Interesting to take an early pit stop here. Now, one of the things I was mentioning to Joe before we started, Joe, I was talking to you about how if everybody came into the pits at the same time, it would be absolute chaos because of how small the pit box is. So things very interesting here. We have about 27 minutes to go left in this race. And as we're on board with James LeBlanc, some of these drivers possibly deciding to take some early pit stops, maybe to try and get out of sequence or get out of groups that they think they're faster than.
I mean, it makes sense to me. You might as well try something because otherwise you're just stuck as we come up out of Surtees. I'm noticing off the corners, it seems LeBlanc is much better than Duchesne, but he just never seems to be able to do much with it.
Yeah, I find it interesting because I would expect the Ferrari actually to be a little bit quicker through the center of the corner, and that's maybe where he's finding his speed, especially through these faster corners, but it looks like LeBlanc is just a little loose through there, so he's causing a little bit of trouble.
You have to step away because our leaders keep coming tantalizingly close to one another. You could see, looking around the outside, Morales picking a very different line from Palacio. That'll be something to watch out for sure. Also offline, speaking of which, some corners, I'm already seeing a ton of marbles starting to build up. So drivers will need to be wary as they've got a car off track. That's Juno, who just stays out of the way.
Juno staying out of the way very kindly for them as he actually went off. So it's good thing not to rejoin right in front of the leaders. But, I mean, Morales is putting so much pressure on Palacio right now.
They've got 5 seconds back to Goodway. That is very, very impressive. Oh, Duchesne's had a problem. Duchesne is off in the middle of Druids.
This was contact.
Yeah, but he was slow ahead of that. Barry Cochran hit him. Did he have an off before this? Yeah, okay, so yeah, there it is, right? Goes off after Paddock Bend. That's what makes him slow. He must have dirt and gunk on his tires because he can't take it into the corner very far, and then Cochran just was not anticipating the pace of Duchesne through that turn.
I mean, Cochran launched it in there. I'm not sure he would have made the corner if Duchesne hadn't been there to be a little bit of a barrier. But, I mean, you could tell that Cochran was definitely trying to take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, coming back up farther to 9th position, we've got Ravito being chased by Rines, Thurman, and Costello. A bit of a 4-car battle building here.
Yeah, very tight battle between these drivers. I think these are the SRT eSports, some of the SRT eSports drivers, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we have magenta, black, and red represented in this battle. All the different SRT eSports drivers definitely getting their representation on screen today with those awesome orange, white, and black paint jobs.
They're doing fairly well for... This is 4 cars right here that's within the top 15. It's no mean feat in a series this competitive. They're coming up on some lap traffic. That's Gary Schilling. That could throw a wrench in the works. Oh, a car ahead of them just hit someone. That's Tremblay. Tremblay and Junot just came together, and they're almost drifting back out on track. Now, Junot was a lap down, but Tremblay was on the lead lap. That's another one of those SRT cars.
Oh my goodness, and we're going to watch it right here. This very intense stuff with Tremblay. I think Tremblay might have taken a little bit of an opportune moment here on Junot because he saw Junot was a slow car, thought Junot possibly was going wide to let him through.
He kind of was. It was hard to tell what Junot was doing because he was slow at different points and was picking different sides of the track. I don't blame Jean-Marc for getting into the trouble that he did because it was really hard to tell what exactly was going on there.
I mean, he would have been in the gravel had he not hit Tremblay. His trajectory would not have taken him on a safe route, unfortunately. So it might not have been good either way, but this is definitely the worst of all scenarios, sitting there in the pits doing repairs and losing positions.
Right now, our highest pitter is, I believe, Brett Thurman. Yes, Brett Thurman. Kenny Rodriguez is marked as having had a stop. That's because he started from pit lane. Taking a look at 4th place at this point, Pisano and Davies, along with Raymond Day, 3-car fight to decide just off the podium.
Oh, we've had a giant accident in 18th position. Angelo Velos and Sammy Bridges got together. Sammy Bridges on his lid. This was a giant incident.
Yeah, this was coming out of Druids. I think Velos, both of them went wide. Yeah, here, watch on the replay. They're both going to go wide, and Bridges just gets the worst of it.
Oh my goodness, that just flips him and just ends up being a top.
That's not the first time we've seen Bridges with issues today either, unfortunately. So back to our leaders. Once again, Palacio and Morales. I don't think they've been split by more than half a second this entire race so far.
No, they haven't, but they're catching up to some pretty dense lap traffic. This is Aaron Law up ahead, and then up ahead of that is Lawson Christie. They're battling for position now, and we've seen Aaron Law. We know he's pretty quick around here. The trouble is his consistency isn't great. So with Palacio and Morales coming up behind him, how is Aaron Law going to handle the blue flags?
Remember, he's had his pit stop, but these two have not, which is why they've caught him so quickly. Just about at the halfway mark. They will need to come in. If he can just let them by out of Sterling, that might be a good place. Let's see if he decides to do it or if he's going to stick with it. We'll get another shot up the main straight, up the Brabham straight. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be here from the looks of it.
I mean, Joey's catching up to Christie. He doesn't want to let him go, but they're both going to peel off into the pits. No! Law decides not to peel off into the pits and almost catches Palacio by surprise. Morales might have an opportunity here into turn one.
Yeah, Law's already had his pit stop, so he doesn't need to go in yet again. Both of our leaders cleanly through. Morales doing a good job sticking right with Palacio, and yet again shows himself to be able to break deep into Druid's Bend.
That being said, he always breaks deep into there and then has to make that sharp right-hander. I know some drivers prefer that and say that it's faster, but I see him losing time to Palacio through there.
So let's go back to 12th place, since not sure that we're going to get a move here between our top two. This is Margula sitting in this 12th spot. He's being chased by Strykars, and that is Schilling. That is a lapped car, so the third green car in line is not for position. Those two in front are.
Yeah, Margula is running as an independent, currently in 10th place in the championship, and doing an excellent job of trying to hold down that 12th position, whereas Strykars is running for SRT Orange, doing a good job himself trying to catch up there. Margula and Strykars, I mean, it's so hard to pass around here, but with so much grass around here, there's a great opportunity to catch somebody's mistake.
Those mistakes are easy to make. Checking to watch some of our leaders, see if anybody tries to split it perfectly halfway. I know Day could have had a good shot to maybe try and jump Pisano, because you could see how close he is, but he elected to stay out. He's going to try and do it on track here. Stays in the tire tracks, out through Paddock Hill Bend. My goodness, always scares me whether I'm in the car or out of the car as they head through there, way off the apex for Pisano in Druids, but he doesn't lose the position.
Yeah, Pisano was way deep there. Day definitely saw that opportunity trying to get to it, but can't quite get off the corner. That's the trouble to Druids, is to try and make that opportunity work, but unfortunately can't quite do it.
And out of Surtees. That's Michael Davies behind them. That's also for this spot. All fighting for P4. Davies still needs to hustle a little bit to try and make himself involved in the fight, but he's there to pick up the pieces if necessary.
Yeah, Davies is definitely catching these guys. He's down a position from his starting spot, so he might be a little out of sequence here. Raymond Day, I mean, these guys are very strong right now. Pisano, Day, and Davies are driving very well, but it looks like Pisano just does not quite feel comfortable maximizing the track limits around here, which I don't blame him. I'm not either whenever I race this course. But Raymond Day is not afraid to take it deep into these corners right now.
Which is not good news for Pisano, because if he gets a good enough run, he's certainly going to be mighty on the binders to see if he can get that nose down to the apex first. Nobody making any sort of attempts through Paddock Hill Bend, then back up into Druids. Everybody sticking in line. Davies certainly going to be focusing on his race starts, I anticipate, after losing spots early in both races now and finding life difficult once that happens.
I think Raymond Day is going to be doing the same thing, except that he lost 2 spots at the beginning as well, starting in that 3rd position, and now sits down in 5th. And I mean, yeah, 5th by a ways. I mean, Lewis Goodway is a good 2.5, 3 seconds up the road from him. So, oh my goodness, that was Aaron Law off track. So that moves one car out of the way for these guys that they were about to come up and lap.
I can't tell if Law hit the wall, but it was very close. He is able to keep going. Seen a little bit of damage, so it looks like it was only a light brush for him, thankfully. Back to that battle on screen. Pisano, ooh, this is a good run coming out of Sterling. It's not that long of a straight, though, up to Clearways and Clark. Day has to sit back, wait for another opportunity.
Yeah, they're running out of, I'm not going to say they're running out of time. They have 16 minutes left. But that being said, you got to start to think about pit strategy here, especially if you're Raymond Dave. If you think you're truly being held up by Pisano, then it might be a good opportunity to come into the pits and possibly come out in some clear air, maybe have a good opportunity at a good outlap to put Pisano behind you. And Davies has got to be thinking the same thing. That being said, he has not been able to catch right up to the back of Day like I think he was expecting to. So he might be thinking about a pit stop as well.
I know I would be, but then I think I feel like a bit of a broken record sometimes because we see drivers stuck like this often, but few willing to take the risk of taking a different pit stop strategy. They hit Hawthorne this time. No car off track like we saw with Law. They now head through Westfield, back through Dingledale, little valley here, up and into Sheen. Ooh, a little bit more tidy for both Day and Davies over the apex on that corner. Pisano's starting to feel it yet again as that Ferrari makes itself very big in the BMW's mirrors.
Well, it's very, very close between these drivers. Day definitely trying to maximize. He's trying to get into the rear view mirror of Pisano as much as he possibly can. Davies has fallen off the back of these guys now. Man, that is such tight racing for them.
It's looking very tight. Oh, and a poor exit. Pisano knows it. He goes to defend, and Day is caught out. Has to weave back to the outside when he finds the door shut.
Yeah, that's going to back him up into Davies as they come down through. Let's see who's able to get the better line out. Davies definitely trying to maximize the corner. Davies is going to be following them as they go through. Man, it's so tight, nip and tuck for all these drivers. You always think that you're going to get a better exit there, but it just never works out. They all spread out once again.
Davies' opportunity starts to slip away. We haven't looked at Rines and Costello in a minute. These two are still quite tight together. This is for 9th position. That's Rines and the SRT BMW in front, the Audi belonging to Costello.
Yeah, Rines and Costello very tight together. Also SRT eSports drivers on teams black and orange. And goodness gracious, looks like Costello's much better on the brakes. Did not expect Rines to brake that early.
Checking and watching our leaders as I keep half an eye on this battle. See if anybody dares to come in now with 13 minutes left to go. None of our front runners electing to risk it. Up next is the battle we've been watching. Revito leading Rines, leading Costello, and one taker. But it's Rines who is the car ahead in the equation.
So Ryan's taking to the pit road, releases Costello. Costello has Sean Foles to pass, and he's got Revito up ahead of him. Foles looking very unstable in that Audi right now, unfortunately. Looks like Costello's going to have to go offline to try and pass him. But everybody in pit lane at this moment, we're taking a look at Dana Revito as he goes around that corner, and that's Tony Costello tucked in behind him.
Wonder if Sean Foes was the impetus that caused Rines to decide to come in. He thought maybe, oh, well, the traffic could put me in a bad position, so might as well get out of it and see if I can get some clear air. Well, he has. He's back out in 13th and is now our highest pitter. In the meantime, on screen, this is the battle for 4th. Day in the white and black machine. And in front, in the red and black, that is Anthony Pisano.
These guys continue to fight, but once again, they're going to have to bite for pit stops very soon. I mean, we're 12 minutes to go, so unless they've been doing some serious fuel saving in the back of that pack, I'm thinking Davies. Oh, there we go. Looks like the two rear runners are going to come in.
Yep. Davies and
Oh,
Day.
Goodway's wrecked! Lewis Goodway has wrecked on the front
no.
stretch.
Did he hit anything?
He has major front end damage. I think it was Justin Junot who came back across the track.
Yeah, Junot was trying to collect the car. Here's the replay.
Junot had just spun in front of our leaders as well and held them up. So unfortunately, Junot coming across the track and wrecking Lewis Goodway, our points leader.
Oh, well, I don't think he's going to be the points leader after today, unfortunately. They don't have a spare car, so he is just going to have to deal with the damage that he's got. Hard to tell exactly how much. The nose doesn't look too bad considering the extent, the severity of the hit.
And he still has his pit stop to do, so it's possible he could get some repairs done, but 11 seconds of repairs, 11 seconds including fuel. I guess he could get some repairs done during that, but I don't know whether they can replace a front clip in that amount of time. And he's not going to want to lose that many positions. He's still 5 seconds ahead of Davies at this moment.
Yeah,
he's 20 seconds ahead of Davies.
Our leader is in. Julio Palacio pulls in, and Morales stays out. Now, he was riding behind him for a long time. I wonder if he managed to save a little bit more fuel, has an extra lap, and can use this to try and push.
We've seen this in other GT series where some drivers will take it as far as they possibly can. Maybe, I don't think you could possibly save enough to make it a no stop today, but Palacio comes in, 9.6 seconds of fuel, about on average, a little bit quicker than average for the rest of the field.
It looks like this might be as long as you can go in normal conditions, because, yeah, Strykars is coming in. He's the only other one besides Velos who has yet to pit. So,
yeah, Goodway came in as well, but after his pit stop and his wreck, he's actually coming out in 7th position, and will probably be in that position once everything filters out.
Yeah, I think it has. I'm seeing Goodway in 7th. Actually, did Goodway come into the pits this time?
Yes, Goodway just came into the pits.
Okay, yes, you're right. All right. We've got Morales on screen in the number 22 Audi.
He's the last to pit.
He's got to come in.
He's the last to pit, so his time by. And
there he goes. So where is he going to come out in relation to Palacio? He's coming through Sheen right now, as we saw there. Morales pulling into his stall. There's the pit comparison on your screen. There he goes. Now he hits his stall as the timer starts to tick up. All the way towards the front since he started in 2nd. Palacio, who denied him the pole position, is coming up the Brabham straight.
He took tires, I think.
You sure? Or is this a penalty of some sort?
One or the other, but regardless, Morales definitely thought he was going to be going and ended up not going. He's still sitting there. 30 seconds tick by. Morales dropping down the field like a rock.
Wow. This has got to be a penalty. I don't think the tires take this long. I wonder if he had too many incidents and he's having to serve that now. As we head out into the 5th position, J.R. Williams chasing Raymond Day, Anthony Pisano in 3rd.
Morales comes out in the 12th position, just ahead of Kyle Strykars, and man, what a penalty he had.
Fortunately, I think it's safe to say that he is his own worst enemy this season. His own mistakes causing a lot of headache at Barcelona, and now some sort of penalty costing him here at Brands Hatch.
Well, this has definitely tightened up that battle for the 12th position, because Kyle Strykars and Arnaud Janos are coming together now, because they were spread out pretty decently, but Morales was slow off of pit lane, and Arnaud trying to hold off Kyle right now because they're tucked in behind Morales, who has yet to come up to speed. So this is actually tightening up that battle.
I would expect that he'd be able to pull away, because as far as we can tell, he didn't really have any sort of damage. So considering his pace before, I would expect that Strykars won't be able to keep up. Oh, still right underneath him. What is going on with Morales? That checks up Strykars, and now the 312 gets a shot to look down to the inside of
Whoa!
Clark as he gets chopped off, and that nose just about went in contact with the bumper of Strykars.
That's not gonna make Jeannot very happy right there, because that was very clearly a chop block. So that's gonna raise the blood pressure just a little bit under the 312's helmet.
I mean, I'd say it's harsh but fair.
Oh,
Strike-
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if I'm the driver in the 312, I'm thinking to myself, hey man, I wasn't quite there yet even.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, it's a, okay, that's how we're going to play then sort of situation. You get the sense if your competitor is going to be that way, then you know exactly what to expect and how you need to treat this battle. Let's take a look at third, though, because Pisano, Day, and Williams, who have been right up next to each other even before the pit stops, have resumed almost exactly how they were after the pit stops.
Yeah, absolutely. But the difference is now, with Lewis Goodway being down in 6th position, this puts them into a battle for a podium. So the stakes are, I mean, they don't give out trophies per race in the PRL series, but you definitely, it changes your mindset a little bit when you're fighting for a podium.
It wasn't just Goodway. Remember, it was Morales, too, who fell behind them. So they gained 2 positions in the pit stop sequence that has got to be making them happy. Interesting to note, another one that gained in that sequence is Michael Davies, who is in 2nd, which is where he finished in the first race. It's not the worst of places to be, but I'm sure he'd like to be one step up one of these days.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, Davies 8 seconds off of Palacio, so that's going to be a little bit of a trouble for him to. He doesn't quite have the time to close that gap. Anthony Pisano 2 seconds back of Davies, and with the pressure coming on from Day and Williams behind him, as you're seeing on screen, I mean, he's got to be worried about his mirror rather than trying to catch up to Davies.
Certainly, I would expect that to be the case. We're down to only 5 minutes left on the clock. A great exit from Day is putting him in a good position. Pisano, how much is he checking the mirrors? Has he ripped it off and thrown it out the window at this point? He starts to pull away up the Brabham straight with a good exit out of Clark.
Yeah, Pisano can see Michael Davies up ahead of him. They've got Aaron Law, the lap car, between them now. But look at this, Raymond Day just right up on the rear bumper of Pisano. Pisano actually moves over a little bit, going a little defensive into the corner, but manages to get the braking done. Impressive stuff. Raymond Day trying to maximize speed out of the corner, but just can't quite get the power down. The front end not wanting to grip in that Ferrari, just can't get it quite done right now.
And we've seen that move already once this race. Pisano having to defend to the inside in his Bimmer up into Druids and denying Day the opportunity. I'd almost say it's impossible to pass around the outside around Druids. We've seen it very few times ever on this channel, successfully executed. So he has got to get that nose to the right side of the car before they get to that apex.
And if you're wondering about the attrition in this race, we have about 32 of our 37 drivers still running, a couple of them with some significant damage, so not as much attrition, to be honest, as I was expecting, Joe, but still quite a bit for this large of a series.
I'd say a good job done by most drivers, but we still have a little bit here as we're watching a little farther down the order. This is Costello and Thurman, along with Rines a little bit ahead. Rines giving himself some leeway while Costello and his SRT teammate Thurman are right on top of each other.
I mean, these guys are all on sister teams, not necessarily teammates, and I don't know how that changes how you think about the race, but Thurman definitely looking at an opportunity on Costello. Costello with a little bit of a shallower line as they go into the first corner, but look at that. Ryan's actually a little bit offline there, sets him up for an opportunity. Maybe Costello thinking about making a late dive. He goes straight for the apex, but can't quite get there in time to put Christopher Rines offline.
That was ambitious, honestly. I don't think he ever thought he was going to get there in time. But he's found the next gear because, my goodness, is he now really starting to apply pressure to Rines. He is trying to get inside his head. Look at how often he's coming in shallow.
Absolutely. I mean, none of these are really great opportunities to pass, but Costello definitely tried to get in the head of Ryan's, but now that's giving an opportunity to Thurman. Thurman's as close as he's been, but once again, great opportunity into this particular corner. These guys definitely fighting it out now.
Let's stay here, but I want to mention that Morales has been in a fight with Menino, and he eventually got past, but it came with banging doors in the process. He's got to watch out because if that penalty that he served before was due to too many incidents, he could be DQ'd next.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be concerned about. We're going to take a look at Pisano and Day because Pisano makes another move to the inside to hold off Day. Day almost got up there inside of him. If they would have made contact there, that would have sent Pisano in straight into the inside wall. Ooh, that was close.
All right, put yourself in the shoes of Raymond Day here, Adam. What do you do to try and get by? Do you keep trying that move, or do you try and get creative and look somewhere else?
Well, you got to get creative and look somewhere else, but that means you're going to have to take an unusual line into one of these corners to try and make an opportunity. You got to let him get away just a little bit and then take a really aggressive line through the forest section to try and make another move.
We're only going to have one to go when they get back to the start-finish line because Palacios just coming through Sheen now, and you can see less than a minute on the clock.
And Christopher Rhines and Costello have come together a little bit. They've got Thurman right in behind them, but this is very close stuff as they go down the straight. Ooh, that was tight. A little bit of bumping and banging there of the fenders as they come through the corner.
Rhines didn't look to the inside, though. He actually almost bump drafted him up towards Hawthorne. So not sure what exactly he was doing with how little time they have left. Our leader takes the white flag. He's got a 6-second gap back to Michael Davies. Fair credit to the 75 for keeping Palacio honest. But we're going to jump back to third, where that is still undecided. Pisano continues to cover off the inside into Druids, but no maneuver from Day this time to show his nose.
Absolutely not, and that's because he sees something really interesting up ahead of him. He's got 4 lapped cars that might play a factor in this race as they come across into the forest section, especially Salazar being on the inside here of this corner. This is going to hold up Day. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know where the apex is. That's going to let Pisano get away a little bit here.
Just horrible timing for Day. It was the wrong place at the wrong time. That is racing sometimes. The clock has now run out, and Palacio essentially cruising home. There you can see the Audi, the 194, coming up through Sheen. Where did he finish last race? Because I want to say he did not have the greatest of days in Barcelona. I'm trying to check my stats, but he's making up for it here. Just one more turn as he heads up and through Clark onto the Brabham Straight. For Julio Palacio, it is victory here at Brands Hatch.
Michael Davies is going to get that second place, and it looks like Anthony Pisano is going to hold on for third position ahead of Raymond Day, and that actually got closer than I thought it would. J.R. Williams is going to come home in the 5th position.
Goodway, despite his damage, manages 6th impressively. And then a little bit farther back, we saw the battle between Costello, Rhines, and Thurman. Costello leads them in 8th position. A decent exit is going to allow Rhines to retain 9th, and Thurman settles for a top 10. A little bit farther back here, this is Margula, and it looks like he's ahead of Kenny Rodriguez and Strykars, who were fighting for position, but Strykars is slow. I think he's fallen. He's lost fuel.
Absolutely. He ran out of fuel actually coming into Druids, so he's been just kind of trundling that thing along. He manages to cross the line in 17th, but man, he lost a lot of positions. He was up there towards the top 10.
Only 20 drivers left on the lead lap. Ran out of fuel. Why is that a phrase that my brain could not grasp at that moment? We're going to hopefully have enough fuel to finish out because we got our post-race show yet to go. Stick around for the unofficial results as well as driver interviews and all the upcoming races here on our screen. Welcome back to Brands Hatch here in England. And, well, it was a great race, especially up for that podium all race long. Palacio had a good battle on the first half with Diego Morales as he felt a lot of pressure. And then you can see, well, Morales wasn't there in the end. He unfortunately got a penalty. We did get confirmation in the text chat after the race. That is what sent him backwards with a long pit stop. Michael Davies going from fifth to second, still looking for that elusive win. Got to think that it's got to come at some point. Pisano rounds out the podium with Raymond Day finishing in fourth. J.R. Williams with a nice top five himself. Lewis Goodway, a bit of a reverse from what he had in the first race. Now, granted, some of his woes were caused by him getting in an accident with a back marker, and he settles for sixth. Dan Revito finished in seventh, with Tony Costello in eighth. Christopher Rines with a ninth was followed by Brett Thurman rounding out the top 10.
Where's Diego Morales? There's Diego Morales finishing in the 11th position, unfortunately, after that pit lane penalty. Then we have David Menino, who finishes in 12th today. Arnaud Genest fighting with Menino for quite a while, with David Flanagan finishing in 14th. Piotr Margulik finishing in 15th position, with Kenny Rodriguez in 16th and Kyle Strykars in 17th. Strykars running out of fuel on the last lap, unfortunately. Had to make it a whole lap on low fuel, unfortunately. And we have Bret Barrett finishing in 18th position. 19th is going to be James LeBlond and Angelo Velos rounding out your top 20.
And the last car on the lead lap has Brian Hotham, the first of a lap down in 21st, with Salazar 22nd. Neil Alexander with a few issues up through Sheen and Sterling, finished 23rd. Aaron Law as well, having a bit of a mixed day in 24th spot. David Stevenson, 25th, and Lawson Christie in 26th. Last car one lap down was Jared Keene there in 27th. You got Gary Schilling 2 laps down in 28th, 3 laps for Sean Foes in 29th. And 30th, it is Levi Goffany. From there on back, it seems we've got plenty of DNFs, but not as many as we feared. So well done to all of our drivers. I believe we've got our winner in here to talk to us. Julio, congratulations on the victory. It looked like you had to withstand some pressure in the first half.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Diego was right on me the whole time. It was just trying to concentrate and hit my marks and just keep it, going. It was a hot track and the cars were slippery, but he really drove me nice. It was really fun.
Now, I'm trying to remember where you finished in Barcelona because I'm looking through my stats. It seems like this is a big turnaround from that race, if I'm seeing correctly.
Yeah, I was in fifth place, and I'm still trying to learn the Audi a little bit, especially as the tires get hot. And I kind of threw away, I think, a fifth place at Barcelona, so I was really down. This really makes up for it. It was an exciting race, and getting pole was awesome, and just trying to hit the marks and not make a mistake. It was a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully, then this is sort of the turning point. You've got things back on track. Is Okayama looking likely to continue that? How do you feel about that circuit?
Yeah, I mean it's a fun track. It's a little bit, I guess, like Barcelona. Haven't done too much testing with it, but yeah, I mean I'm now finally starting to kind of learn the Audi and what it needs. And like I said, this is a great league and with PRL and the folks, and it's just a lot of fun, racing everybody.
Well, great job, not only withstanding all the heat from behind, but keeping pace and taking victory today. Anybody you want to thank for this one?
I definitely want to thank PRL for a great league. The SRT team has been fantastic. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of presence out there. We have a lot of fun, and all of you for at GSRC for putting on a great show.
Thank you very much. That was our winner, Julio Palacio, taking the victory here today. And up next, I believe Adam has caught up with Michael Davies, where I'm curious to see what kind of mood he's in after that second place.
Yeah, Michael, another second place 2 weeks in a row, but this one came with a little bit more drama involved in front of you. But how are you feeling after that one, especially fighting with Anthony Pisano and Raymond Day towards the end of the race?
It's one of them where I just struck lucky, to be honest. I was just saving fuel behind the BMW of Anthony Pisano, and I didn't have the outright pace to run with the front two, so yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was tough to catch up to those guys. But as the race went on, how was the traffic around here? I know this place is very hard to race at as far as passing is concerned, and there are quite a few back markers to get past.
I think a few people were a bit, so to say, not respecting blue flags. So it was quite hard to like gauge where you had to actually overtake to put them a lap down. But it was all right for me. But Lewis got the bad end of the stick this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to see that wreck, unfortunately. But next week, Okayama has a couple more places for people to pull over and possibly let other folks by, but it's a little bit more of the sweeping turn department. What are your thoughts heading into that one?
I'll be disappointed if we're not on me and Lewis aren't on the front row next week. It's a bit more suited to myself and Lewis's driving style. So we're hoping to be back at the front for the next round.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on you and Lewis for the qualifying session for sure, and look forward to seeing you guys race there. Congrats on the second position tonight.
Thank you.
That was Michael Davies, our second position driver tonight, and back to you, Joe.
Looks like that's going to be it for our interviews tonight. No sign of Pisano. Would have loved to hear his thoughts after that great battle. But of course, we want to thank our sponsors for this series, NinjaTrader.com and the Butt Kicker, as well as NinjaTrader. And of course, they can be found at NinjaTrader.com and SimMSA as well. We want to remind you that if you can, or if you're interested in your business getting some eyeballs from around the world, you can advertise with us. We've got a link in the description below to check that out. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Juno Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. Another one with a link right down in the description. Next race, as we mentioned, heading over to Japan. That'll be at Okayama, Monday, October 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series also listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.